So now that we've created that, the deliverables for that, I want to kind of just walk you back through this process, and let's talk about kind of what the pieces are here and how this works. So I'm going to come into this surface, okay, and I'm going to delete it. Let's highlight it, just get rid of it. And let's start over and kind of see how this works. If we go back to our outline here, we're going to start talking about the source, the border, and the tin. Let's cover those topics here first. So to create this surface, and I find myself doing this a lot, I go to the traverse that has the topo points in it, okay? And in Traverse PC, it's only points designated as topo points to get included in the surface. So if I'm picking up the top of a fire hydrant that's 3 feet off the ground, that's not a topo point. So I use the ground shots, designate those as topo. When I create a surface from a traverse, using this command right here, create surface from the selected traverse, Traverse PC does two things for me that are helpful. One is it goes ahead and designates these points as topo for me automatically. Now I can come in later on and turn points on or off, however I want to do that. It also sets the source of the surface to the points in that traverse. Now I could say I want to use all the points in the survey that lie within a border, like the property boundary here. But I find myself generally using a traverse for the source because now I can have a different traverse for a different surface, and I can compare the two surfaces to get a volume, for instance. So just kind of what I gravitate to. Traverse PC, then, since it has the topo points and it has the source, goes ahead and computes the surface. And that's why we say it's just wickedly simple. I mean, right there you see it just go boom, and I've got my surface. The tin now got created in the process, and if I want, I can turn that on and draw it. Okay, so it looks like that polyface mesh that we just saw over in AutoCAD. Now, for a simple surface like this, I'm not even going to turn the tin on because I can do all my editing just right off the contours here. I want to reinforce the fact that Traverse PC designated topo points. Here's a command that says delineate the topo points in the project. So now I can come in and say, okay, these are all the shots that have elevations on them. But watch how easy it is for me to come in and change that. I'm going to come in and say, okay, this point here wasn't a topo point. It was something else I picked up out there. So I go to right-click it, okay, and I'm going to say topo off. So I just turn the topo off for that point. Now, the surface can be set up to recompute automatically or manually. I think this one was set to manually. So we can come back in and we can say, okay, go to Surface Tools and to recompute that for me. See how it changes? I can also go into the surface, and I can tell the surface under Advanced that I want to turn off the manual compute. So now I can come back and I can say, oh, that should have been a topo point. Puts it in. And I can individually then select points and turn the topo on and off. That's just kind of, I don't know. I just think it's kind of absolutely amazing. I don't know if any place else I could do something like that. Okay, now I want to talk to you about the border here. If we turn the tin back on, we can see it more easily, but you can see the border just comes here along the contours, and it's outside the property lines. So one of the rules that we realize pretty quickly when we start doing topos is that we need to have good definition of the surface at its edges. In particular, we don't want any long, skinny triangles along the edge that make the surface do wonky things. So I generally like to extend the surface outside of the property that I'm surveying. So any edge conditions happen out here. And then I let Traverse PC generate sort of a default border for me. And when I was into this surface, I have the opportunity to select a traverse that further defines the border. But if it's set to none, Traverse PC just kind of does its own default thing. And that's what creates this border for me out here, using all the points that were in that traverse, because that's the source for the surface. So I just want to mention here that I'm often going to work beyond the property boundaries if possible. Okay. Then let's talk about the tin some more. If I come back in and turn this on, and I'm going to draw the break lines. I'm going to draw them a solid line and go just a little thicker here. Let's do a different color here. I want this to show up a little bit better. Okay, let's do a blue here. So here's my tin. The rules on a tin are that Traverse BC tries to create as many equilateral triangles as it can. It's got a lot of other rules as far as how the tin gets developed, but it's basically the tin then that is modeling the surface. And the tin is comprised of these topo points. So I learned pretty quickly that I can come in and model a surface without too many points. And that's part of what makes this work for me so well.